So I just pushed record. I have literally no idea what I'm going to say in this video. I just want to be honest with you. I just want you to know that. But what I want to do is do something I've never done before in my life, which is open up. It's scary to open up. We might say things that I might say something I'm gonna regret later. But you know what caused me more suffering than anything else throughout my life? And my life was punctuated by a lot more suffering than it needed to be. What caused me more suffering than anything else throughout my life was not being more honest, not opening up, not speaking my challenges and asking for help when I needed help. And one of the reasons that I didn't ask for help, that I didn't open up more, is I grew up in a household where I was trained to be tough. I didn't learn to cultivate vulnerability. But the truth is, that's always been who I am, as someone who has a lot of vulnerability, has a lot of emotion. And it's why I did as well as I did in my career as a designer, because of a deep sense of emotional connection, emotional intelligence. I didn't even know what that word meant, actually, that phrase, until I worked at Amazon. And there was a company-wide call on emotional intelligence, which I love. I love that Amazon does stuff like that. And it's because of people in Amazon who take the initiative to spread messages and create programming around things like that. And I think it's great that Amazon's a company that supports that kind of thing. But I was shut down through so much of my life. I kind of lived inside a prison within my own mind and my own heart. I always knew that there was sort of a deeper, more, what do I want to say? Just a deeper, more expressive, more alive, more connected version of me available that always felt out of reach. And I think the thing that drove me through a lot of my career was wanting to get to a place where I was going to finally feel like who I knew I had the potential to be. And when I went to Tesla and I took on the role of leading design for the Tesla Energy Organization, that felt like a moment in my life. And Ring was the same thing, really growing Ring over 7 years and being in a position of someone important there. And I loved it. I loved the journey of building Ring. It was a blast. It was so much fun. That's what work should be, right? It should be fun, it should be exciting, should be an opportunity to grow and step into new things. That's one of the great things about being in a startup, is you get to step into something new every day. It's fun. It seems like not as enough work is like that anymore, that a lot of us are just, lost in the grind and trying to get to the next promotion and make more money and stay secure and make the boss happy. At least that's what my world became after we built Ring and got acquired, and then found ourselves, Amazon, a lot of great things about Amazon, but at the same time, it was a lot of repetition, a lot of conformity, we couldn't take the same risks anymore that we took when we were building Ring. The risks that led us to grow Ring as quickly as we did and have it be as unique of a thing as it was. A lot of the things that got us to the point that we became successful and to get acquired, after we got acquired, we kind of had to change our approach. We had to become Amazonians. And sorry to say, it took a lot of the joy, it took a lot of the excitement away from it. And it's kind of a shame. I don't know. What do you do about that? Go start another startup. A lot of people are building things now. Sorry, I'm rambling. But the main thing I wanted to do here was just, I like riffing. I like hanging out and just talking openly and honestly. You know, like I said, throughout a lot of my career, I showed up in the way that I thought I was supposed to show up. I showed up as a version of myself that was who I thought I was supposed to be in certain environments. And then I was looking to positions and roles and promotions as things to help me feel good about myself, because I was lacking in that inner, what's the word I'm looking for? I didn't feel good about myself. I didn't like myself. And what I didn't know is that I had to go through a journey of healing. I had to heal some things inside of me related to, things I went through as a kid. And I think we can go through things as kids and dismiss them and say, I was a kid, that didn't really affect me. I was so young when that happened. And then not realize that those things actually shaped and are shaping our whole outlook on life, the way we're living life, the way that we're showing up. And so it's important to look back. This is episode 9 of my new show, The Designed Self. And The Designed Self is all about the idea that who you are isn't fixed. You don't have to just keep showing up in the world as who you were yesterday or who you've been throughout your life, even if you're in midlife, even if you've been the way that you are for longer than you can imagine. The Designed Self is about the idea that however old you are, whatever point you are in life, it's never too late to take an honest look at yourself and ask yourself a question. To say, is the way that I'm showing up in my life a reflection on who I really am? Deepest levels. And the great Swiss psychiatrist, psychoanalyst, Carl Jung talked about something he called the persona. And Carl Jung talked about the persona is the face that we show the world. But the persona isn't who we really are. And how sometimes when we have parts of ourselves that we haven't healed, we haven't suppressed, Carl Jung came up with a term for the parts of ourselves that we push away and we hide. Do you know what he called it? It's all over the place. People talk about it all. If you've been in a yoga class or a breath work or any self-development kind of setting, people talk about the shadow. Have you heard people talk about the shadow? The shadow was first coined by Carl Jung. And he used the shadow to describe the parts of ourselves that we push away. And for a lot of us, we go through things when we're younger. We go through difficult experiences that we aren't able to process, aren't able to deal with at the time. And so we put it in our shadow, we push it away, and it becomes something, so Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So what did he mean by that? He meant the unconscious is your shadow. And the goal of life, the goal to become integrated, which all of Carl Jung's work was about becoming integrated. And so becoming integrated was about exploring what's in your shadow. What have you pushed into your shadow? What did you go through earlier in life that you pushed away because you couldn't deal with it back then? You went into survival mode. What he believed is we create a persona, which is a face that we show the world, but when we have something in our shadow that is troubling or problematic or difficult, like a trauma or a wound that we experienced. Then that shapes our persona, and our persona becomes a device to keep what's in our shadow suppressed. Does that make sense? So in other words, the face that you show the world isn't a reflection on who you really are. It's a device to keep parts of yourself at bay, to keep parts of yourself from surfacing. And that's how I went through most of my life, with a persona. There's some deer walking right behind the camera right now. Hopefully they'll walk in front. Yeah, that's how I went through most of my life, with a persona, with a face I was showing the world that was out of sync with how I really felt internally. And so the path to integration, according to Carl Jung, and what I've discovered through my own journey, is excavating those parts of self. And it can involve just opening up, like I'm doing here, just being honest, talking freely, pushing record with no idea of what I'm going to talk about, and saying, I'm just going to show up and talk to you and connect in a way that isn't, you see it? It's blurry. In a way that isn't trying to come across in any way, that's not trying to hide the deeper things that I've spent a lot of my life feeling and feeling ashamed of. I don't even know where I'm going with this anymore. But again, this is episode 9 of The Design Self. And The Design Self is about the idea that we get to design ourselves in life. We get to choose who to be. We get to choose who we show up as. And who you show up as is going to shape the life that you live. It's going to shape the people you attract, the types of interactions you have, how your work plays out. You can reinvent yourself at any age. And if you want to change your life, if you want to change your career, if you want to change your relationships, it starts with looking at how you're showing up, excavating what's in your shadow, being able to speak what you've spent your life afraid of giving voice to. Hope you found this episode helpful. I don't know where else to go with this, but in my mind, this is sort of the way to show up, and this is how I want to show up in my life, is not feeling like I need to be so polished all the time, not feeling like I need to know what I'm going to say, knowing that I've lived enough life and had enough experiences that I can just show up and be who I am, and that I don't have to be contrived anymore or try and come across a certain way. And that it's valuable, because I think, how many of us adapted ourselves in our careers into ways of being and operating and showing up that we thought would be valuable. It's basically what a career is for a lot of us, squeezing ourselves into boxes of ways of being that will get us paid, will get us money, will get us rewards and recognition. But how often do we really just show up and say, this is who I am? And so that's how I want to move into the next stage of my career, of my life, is by just showing up, saying, this is who I am, this is what I got to offer, take it or leave it. And I want to encourage you to do the same. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you tomorrow for episode 10 of The Design Self.